Hello and welcome to the Tungsten Wire. Today we're going to be talking about Pakistan and its secret relations with Israel. Now, we already know from previous reporting that Pakistan is under the watchful eye of America, is manufacturing artillery for the Israeli military and secretly supplying them. But it goes further than that. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, here from JNS, rare Pakistani delegation visits Israel. So, one of the participants said that she was surprised that to find the complete opposite of what the Muslim world has told her about the Jews. Now, this is already pretty dangerous because it's conflating Zionism with Judaism, and we already know that not all Jewish people support the apartheid and the ethnic cleansing and genocide going on in Gaza. Um, and a lot of Zionists aren't even Jewish. A lot of Zionists are Christian, evangelical Christian, and yeah, the main issue here is this was always going to be a PR visit, right? They're going to show the warmth side, the good side of Israel. There is no good side of Israel. There was no good side of Nazi Germany. There was no good side of apartheid South Africa, and there's no good side of apartheid Israel. Unfortunately, that's not to say there's not good people in these countries. There were obviously, but the regime and the principles the countries are founded on are crimes, and Israel is going to show this is nothing but a propaganda tour. It's not going to show the true meaning of what it's like to live as an Arab in Israel. I've spoken to Israeli Arabs, and Israelis and Zionists, especially, love to point at the 20% Israeli population that is Arab and how they live freely and whatnot. But that's not true. It's illegal in Jewish law, or sorry, not Jewish law, in Israeli law. It is illegal to not rent an apartment building to non-Jewish people, right? It's illegal to discriminate, but the discrimination still happens, and those laws aren't enforced. That's the issue, right? So by law they are legally the same, but by practice they aren't, and they'll tell you this. They've told me, anyways. So a delegation of Pakistani journalists and educators made a rare visit to Israel last week, defying a travel ban by the South Asian Muslim country, which has no diplomatic relations with the Jewish state. Now, they don't have any diplomatic relations in, like, officially, but we do know that the current regime, the Nawaz Sharif dynastic government, with Shahbaz Sharif, his brother, who is the prime minister currently, they do have relations, secret relations with Israel. The 10 group, member group, which came through the Israeli NGO Sharaka, or Partnership in Arabic, is the largest delegation from Pakistan that the organization has brought to Israel to date. I always wanted to come to Israel to find out all of the questions in my mind and to clear all the confusion about what my country and the Muslim world has been telling me about the Jews. Pakistani journalist and documentary film director Sabine Agha, one of two women in the group, told JNS in an interview in Tel Aviv during their visit. I'm not surprised to find the complete opposite of what the state narrative of Muslim countries was. Look, it's not the state narrative. Yeah, look, there's anti-Semitism in these South Asian countries. There's no doubt about that. But everybody can see what Israel is doing in Gaza and in the West Bank, right? An Oscar award-winning producer was just lynched, or he wasn't lynched. It was alleged that he was lynched, but he was severely beaten by Israeli settlers, and then when an ambulance came to pick him up, the IDF stopped the ambulance, took him out of the ambulance, and took him to a police station. That's what it's like to live in the West Bank right now under occupation. And the only reason we were able to see it is because he's an Oscar award winning. He just won an Oscar, like in the last Oscars. The secular Karachi based journalist hopes to become a messenger of peace and harmony. No, she wants to become a messenger of their propaganda, of their hasbara. There is no peace and harmony while there is occupation, right? There's no sense of morality that you can appeal to when the person is an oppressor. Oppression cannot exist within morality, or morality cannot exist within oppression. Because if they had a sense of morality that you could play to, they wouldn't be oppressors, right? And they are. The West Bank and Gaza are under oppression and under occupation. Yeah, so she's hoping to be a messenger of peace and harmony between the two nations in the wake of the Hamas-led terror attacks in southern Israel on October 7th, 2023. Again, October 7th, 2023 was a response to what's been happening for how many years? For decades before that. October 7th is not where the story begins. Okay? It is where the current chapter begins, sure. But it's not where the story begins. The 76 years before that need to be discussed as well. Especially in what she called a very anti-Israel, anti-Jewish Pakistan, where people get offended just by the mention of Israel or the Jews. That's not. I was in Pakistan 10 days ago. I came back 10 days ago. I was there for 15 days. The population is quite anti-Israel, but not as anti-Israel as you'd think. They don't boycott. They don't, they don't follow BDS. They're not a fan of Israel, and the current government, which wants to have relations, political relationship with Israel, are afraid to do so because they know the people would be against it. And we're finding out that a lot of the pro-Palestine marches were stopped by the government and the army, Asim Munir. The group of Muslim influencers, they're not influencers because they can't influence anybody, visited the hard-hit southern Israeli communities where they met with survivors of the Hamas-led terrorist attacks on October 7, 2023, prayed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and visited the Yad Vashem World Holocaust Remembrance Center, also in Jerusalem. It was a pleasant surprise to be in Israel because before we came, we had been getting only one-sided information, said Qaswar Klasra, editor-in-chief of the Islamabad Telegraph, noting the warm welcome of the group received immediately on landing at Ben Gurion International Airport from immigration officials to airport cleaners and then throughout their trip. It will not be easy for Pakistanis to accept the reality because they have been fed baseless negative lies about Israel by both world and local media. We can interact with Israelis. That's the truth. I was going to say it's the beauty of the internet, but it's not really a beautiful thing. We see the genocidal rhetoric that they keep talking about. Give me 1 second here, and I'll bring something up that I just saw. There we go. There we go. Slaughter them all, kill the Palestinians indiscriminately. Grape the women, behead the children. This used to be, you would see this from an Israeli. You would see this from an Israeli in Hebrew, and you'd hit translate, and it would be the most unhinged garbage you've ever seen. This was just posted in English. They don't care anymore, okay? So this idea that these negative lies about Israel by both world and local media, we see what they're saying. They're saying it to us through the power of their phones. So it's not the media feeding us lies. The media is complicit. The media is complicit in what's actually going on. The only reason we can see is because their victims, have one of these, and they can live stream exactly what's happening to them. This thing can be a curse, but this thing has been a great, great tool for us to see the genocide happening. And yet the world is silent. Most of the members of the delegation did not want to be interviewed or photographed due to security concerns and fears of repercussions on their return home. Yeah, there should be. But the Pakistani editor said that he was determined to tell his countrymen the reality in Israel, including how he was able to pray freely at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. A lot of people are able to pray, I wouldn't say freely, but pray at Al-Aqsa Masjid. It doesn't stop the fact that during Ramadan, they storm it and beat the crap out of the Palestinians praying there. It doesn't change the fact that they banned Palestinians from praying there. He was able to go. The people who live in Eastern Jerusalem under occupation aren't. Always. Which he confessed shocked him, even if it meant losing his job after over a quarter century as a journalist. This guy, he's supposed to be a journalist. He's being a mouthpiece. I want to say he's naive, but he's not naive. He's being paid. He's 100% being paid. They are poisoning minds across the globe, he said. This disinformation needs to be addressed. Like I said, it's not disinformation because we see it with our own eyes. We see the videos of the IDF raiding Al-Aqsa Mosque and beating the crap out of people praying. Here you go.
A morning raid at Al-Aqsa, as thousands of people had gathered for Ramadan prayers. According to eyewitnesses, Israeli police entered the mosque compound saying they wanted to preempt any violence.
I was there when the clashes happened. We were all worshipping inside the mosque, and the Israelis are the ones who attacked first. Our people were already prepared to confront them.
But Israeli authorities say Palestinian youths struck first, hurling stones at the officers. Dozens of worshippers have been injured by rubber bullets, stun grenades and batons. Hundreds have been arrested. Turkey has condemned Israel's actions as unacceptable, saying it is concerned by the increase in tensions in recent days.
Now, people, the Hezbollah are going to be like, yeah, see, the youths were throwing rocks at them. No. There's no evidence of it. We saw videos of them throwing it after they stormed the mosque. I've talked to a friend of mine, Abdul Rahman, who was praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque on Friday prayer, and it was stormed. And there was nothing, nobody was throwing rocks or anything. Everyone was busy in their worship, in their prayers, and they attacked. Now, he was inside the main hall, and so he was safe. It was mostly the people in the courtyard that got, the brunt of the attack. But that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, I was shocked that I was able to pray. You're there as their guest on a propaganda trip. Why are you surprised that they showed you that they let you pray, that they were nice to you in the airport? That's the whole point. And I want to say that they're being naive, but they're not being naive. They're being paid. It's 100% obvious. But anyways.
Who are colleagues that you feel you can address some of these issues without it interfering with your security?
That is a very, very interesting and a very difficult question as well, because so far I haven't come across anyone in the government, because I'm a journalist, I get to know, the mindset of the people, I get acquainted with them, and we have, so far, whoever I have spoken with, even if personally the government officials, they want relations with Israel, but, publicly they cannot, because there's going to be a lot of public backlash. I remember, even though when the recent war broke out on October 7 and the follow-up of that.
It's not a war, it's a genocide.
I did not see any, high-profile public protests against Israel. They were very small-time public protests against Israel, but one of our friends had just mentioned that, and I am aware of that information as well. That it was deliberately stopped from taking place, the anti-Israel high-profile or large.
So if anybody didn't understand what happened there, she's saying that all the protests were small, and the bigger protests were suppressed by the government. And then here's Hamid Mir. He's a pro army, Pakistan army person. He's a mouthpiece for them. And he went after Shahbaz Sharif. Well, the government of Shahbaz explained about the back channel. Israeli newspaper interviewed a group of Pakistanis who visit Israel, and one of them claimed that the state of Pakistan deliberately stopped big anti-Israel rallies in Pakistan. It's funny that Hamid is asking Shahbaz Sharif and not the actual person with power, and that's Asim Munir. Right? The army is ready to turn the bullets of its soldiers against its own people, the people that they told that they swore to protect. They're ready to do that. Yet they're not ready to allow support for Palestinians in large numbers. Why? Because they're in the pocket of America, the number one financier of Israel. And one more thing to talk about is the fact that Pakistan is secretly arming Israel, because Israel is bombing Gaza so badly that America can't keep up with supplying them artillery. They're running out of artillery quicker than America can send them more. And so Pakistan and other countries are secretly providing them with artillery. Israel Hamas war. Pakistan supplies Israel with 155 millimeter shells. Pakistan is said to be supplying 155 millimeter shells to Israel amid the war with Hamas. Again, it's not a war. A war implies that there are two equal sides. There is not equal sides here. Despite Islamabad's long-standing support to Palestinian causes and specific opposition to the existence of the State of Israel, officially they are against Israel. In back channels, they are very much with Israel. This isn't the only. We've seen more reports. Ryan Grimm has reported it, and he's from Dropsite News, and he's a legitimate, he's the White House correspondent for Dropsite. He's a legitimate journalist with legitimate sources, and he has reported that they are providing artillery to Israel. Ultimately, what does this mean? I don't know. I don't believe that Pakistan will ever be able to normalize relations with Israel, solely due to the fact that the people will never allow it. Like I said, a lot of the people aren't with BDS. They aren't boycotting. They aren't doing their part. But they are still conscious enough to know that what Israel is doing is a genocide. And ultimately, people like this, Sabine Khan, Agha, or whatever her name is, this lady, ultimately, what we need to know about them is that they are bootlickers for the Western imperialists, right? They so want to be Western, part of the Western imperial machine, and so they're willing to sell their soul and their credibility, and they're willing to give up their Pakistani identity if it means that they can cash in and be Western. Now, there's so many in the West. There's so many Sabine Aghas in the West that she would have no platform. But in Pakistan, she's very few. She's one of the very few who would be pro-Israel, pro-Western imperialism. And that's something that we need to keep in mind. The majority of Pakistanis will never be with Israel. And so long as we ensure that we are educating our youth on what Israel is doing, and we can show it doesn't have to just be stories. We can show them the very social media accounts of these Israelis, of these soldiers. Right? We've got soldiers on video talking to Palestinians, claiming that they've killed many kids. Now, Hasbaris will try and tell you that, oh, they're just being facetious. Oh, they're just being trolls. It's not something you troll about. It's not something you troll about. We've seen kids killed. And we see soldiers saying that they deliberately killed kids. I'm just saying. It's not that hard to put two and two together. Anyways, that's it on this story. And we'll move on to another story in a bit.